This is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Nolen Buchanan? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Nolen Keith Buchanan was born in 1989 and lived in Benicia, California. His father, Adam Buchanan, divorced his mother and was awarded full custody of Nolen. Adam found a new love interest in 2006. Her name was Molly McAfee. Adam and Molly became engaged. They had a son named Gavin in 2007. The family of four, Adam, Molly, Nolen, and Gavin, lived in a house on Cambridge Drive. Adam owned a construction company called Buchanan Construction. For a while, the company seemed to be doing well. Adam and Molly had been able to make several luxury purchases. In 2014, they bought a cabin in Greenwood, California. This is in El Dorado County, about 100 miles northeast of their house. In addition, they had two vehicles which were described as vintage and a pontoon boat. Nolen started assisting in the construction business at the age of 12. Over time, it became apparent that Buchanan Construction was not doing well financially. The company was carrying a lot of debt and was failing. Similarly, the relationship between Adam and Molly was failing. The couple frequently argued. They were visited by the police on at least 5 occasions. By 2015, the arguing was out of control. They were throwing things and referring to each other using impolite names. Molly started sleeping in a separate room downstairs. Despite all these problems between Adam and Molly, they remained together romantically and continued to function as a family. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. Adam and Molly had planned on making the cabin in Greenwood their primary residence someday, but the cabin was not ready. It did not have electricity, the interior walls were not finished, and it needed a lot of other work. The family planned a weekend trip to the cabin starting on Friday, September 11, 2015. They were going to have a little vacation and do some work on the cabin. 2 days later, on Sunday, September 13, 2015, at about 10 a.m., firefighters responded to reports that the Buchanan cabin was on fire. When they arrived, they found the cabin burned to the ground. It wasn't actively burning, but the rubble was still warm. In the rubble, investigators found 3 sets of human remains. They belonged to 38-year-old Adam, 37-year-old Molly, and 8-year-old Gavin. Here's what the police learned during their investigation. Gasoline had been used in the fire. The victims did not inhale smoke before they died. They were dead when the fire started. It appeared as though all 3 victims had been shot to death. Gavin had an obvious gunshot wound to his head, and there were numerous small metal fragments in the other 2 bodies. Later, investigators were able to prove that all 3 victims were murdered with a .22 caliber rifle. It was possible that one of the victims was actually the killer, but considering that no firearms were found at the cabin, it appeared as though someone else must have been involved. The police decided to visit Adam's house. When they arrived, they found 16-year-old Nolen Buchanan alone in the house, drinking beer. Investigators told Nolen that there had been a fire in the area of his father's cabin, and they needed to speak with Adam and Molly. Nolen told them that his parents had gone to the cabin without him and would be home that evening. The police then explained to Nolen that his family was missing. Nolen explained how he did not go to the cabin because there was not enough room in the Dodge truck. He told the police that his little brother could have caused the fire by tipping over a generator and pointed out how his parents frequently argued. It was like Nolen was trying to explain to the police what could have killed his family. On Monday, September 14, Nolen met his grandfather at the construction business. His grandfather said that Nolen was wearing a new sports coat, which was out of the ordinary. Nolen was focused on getting the work crews ready for the day and seemed emotionless. He told his grandfather that he was having one of the best mornings of his life because he spent the night with his former girlfriend. The same morning, Nolen visited his fitness instructor, who noticed that Nolen was focused on maintaining the construction business and getting access to bank accounts. When Nolen met with Molly's mother later that week, she noticed that he was wearing new clothes and jewelry. Eventually, investigators were able to piece together some of the timeline. On Friday, September 11, 2015, Adam's ATM card was used to make a purchase at a Taco Bell at 9:17 p.m. Surveillance video indicated that whoever made the purchase was driving a white Ford F-150. The restaurant was about 20 miles northeast of Adam's house, on the route to the cabin. 4 drinks were purchased, which makes it seem like all 4 of the family members were in the pickup truck at that time. One could argue that starting a journey with Taco Bell foreshadows an internal rebellion, but this family had no inkling of the seriousness that would unfold. Late on Saturday, September 12, the day before the fire, Adam and Molly went to a bar not far from the cabin. At 2:32 a.m., now on Sunday, September 13, surveillance video captured the Ford F-150 driving in the direction of the cabin. At 3:33 a.m., 1 hour and 1 minute later, the truck was captured coming back from the direction of the cabin and heading toward the interstate. A toll station camera captured the truck in the Bay Area on Sunday afternoon. Adam's ATM card was used several times that day in that area. He only had one card. It became clear to the police that Nolen's story was not adding up. The family didn't take the Dodge truck to the cabin. Rather, they took the Ford, and Nolen must have been with them. Investigators started looking into Nolen's alibi. Nolen told his former girlfriend that he planned to see her Friday, September 11, but then had another friend provide her a false reason for not meeting her. Nolen called his former girlfriend early on Sunday, September 13. He told her that he had not gone on the cabin trip and was home all weekend. When Nolen met with his former girlfriend, she noticed that he was wearing new clothing. Nolen visited several people on Sunday. He also told them that he had been home over the weekend. It's like he just couldn't stop talking about how he definitely did not go on the trip to the cabin. The police found some curious internet searches, which were made using Nolen's cell phone. He had been interested in topics like arson, disabling alarm systems, night vision goggles, and safe cracking. Investigators were able to catch a lucky break as far as locating evidence. Students taking part in a cleanup effort found Adam's .22 caliber rifle and Molly's purse under a bush about a mile away from Buchanan Construction. The rifle was the murder weapon, and Nolen's fingerprints were on it. Nolen maintained his original story each time the police interviewed him. He was arrested after his 4th interview and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. The police would later find out that Nolen allegedly admitted to his grandfather that he murdered Gavin to prevent his brother from having to grow up in a chaotic household. Nolen's trial started in April 2018. He testified in his own defense. Here is what he said happened. Nolen admitted to going with his family to the cabin. He said that his father was yelling at Molly and yelling at him. The arguing continued into Saturday. That night, Nolen and his brother Gavin went to sleep at about 11 p.m. Nolen woke up after hearing screaming and gunshots. When the noises stopped, Nolen could hear the sounds of somebody walking toward him and his brother. He was unable to see who the mysterious figure was, but he could see the person shoot his brother Gavin with the rifle. Nolen grabbed the barrel of the rifle and was able to disarm the attacker. As the perpetrator fell backward, Nolen fired twice in the dark. He struck and killed the attacker and then realized it was his father. Nolen checked on Gavin and Molly, but they were both dead. He decided that his best course of action was to douse the bodies in gasoline and set them on fire. Not surprisingly, the state had a different theory about what happened. They believed that when Adam and Molly were at the bar, Nolen shot and killed Gavin. He then waited in the cabin for his parents to return and shot them too. On June 13, 2018, Nolen Buchanan was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 150 years in prison, but could be released in 25 years. Factoring in his time served, he is eligible for parole in 2039, when he will be around 50 years old. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. There isn't really any doubt that Nolen Buchanan was responsible for the murders. Even though it is technically possible for his self-defense story to be true, there was evidence that Nolen premeditated the murders. I guess he would have people believe that he was planning on killing his family, but then his father beat him to the punch. It doesn't make any sense. Item number 2. Nolen was described as distant, quiet, and weird. He worked with some friends on film projects where he was captured on video being aggressive. Nolen had a challenging environment at home. His father expected him to work, perform chores, get good grades, and take care of his younger brother Gavin. It sounds like Adam may have been physically violent toward Nolen on a few occasions. There is no doubt that the household was filled with screaming and arguing. His father was much harder on Nolen than he was on Gavin, which is something that Nolen came to resent. Adam frequently insulted Nolen. For example, on one occasion, Nolen injured himself on a quad bike when they were all at the cabin. He sprained both ankles and was in quite a bit of pain. Adam called Nolen names, suggesting he was not masculine because he wanted to go to the emergency room. There is a sense that Adam was unsophisticated, sadistic, crude, and not someone who Nolen could count on for support. In order to protect his reputation, Adam insisted that Nolen not tell anyone about the mistreatment. All the secrets were to stay in the family. In addition to mistreating Nolen, Adam was extremely unkind to Molly. He was particularly displeased that she had trouble with her weight. Molly kept a journal in which she recorded her concerns about Adam's poor behavior. At work, Adam wasn't much better. He was described as a bad boss who frequently used expletives. Despite all of Adam's shortcomings, Nolen said he loved his father. His opinion of Molly was not as generous. Nolen suggested that she was an unpredictable drug user who was not welcome at Buchanan family gatherings. Moving to the last item, number 3. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. I think there were 2 separate dynamics playing out with Nolen simultaneously. The first dynamic was how Nolen was full of rage at his father because of the mistreatment. The second dynamic involved Nolen's desire to have money and freedom. Even though the construction business was failing, Nolen wanted to be in charge of it. After the murders, he declared to his relatives, "I am the sole owner." Adam pressured his son to work in the business, which led to Nolen developing grandiosity and a sense of entitlement. Nolen was given too much responsibility and placed under too much stress. I think what happened here is that the first dynamic, the rage dynamic, paved the way for Nolen to fully explore the second dynamic, the greed dynamic. Adam taught his son both dynamics. He gave him all the tools that he needed to become a family annihilator. Now moving to my final thoughts. The case of Nolen Buchanan can be summarized in this way. A boy named Buchanan was born to a builder in Benicia. Family life was a battleground, and the boy felt like a burden. He borrowed from his father how to breed bitterness, be brutal, and break bonds. The boy became absorbed by the Buchanan building business, which boomed briefly, but bankruptcy beckoned. His ambition blocked benevolence, and the boy butchered his family in a blood-stained betrayal. Ultimately, the boss baby bore the blame and was banished behind bars. Those are my thoughts on the case of Nolen Buchanan. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.